You're listening to a Galactic Network podcast. For more, go to gncast.com.
We're the ElseNerds.
Hello and welcome to ElseNerds, a production of Galactic Network. I'm Gregor Sprague, and joining me, as I like to say because I watch way too many TV shows, and this is how they refer to me, refer to one of the guys on there. Joining me is Alternative Corey, Sean Burns. And before we get into the show, just let you know, you can find all of our links over at ElseNerds.com, in show notes, all that stuff. And you can find everything else Galactic Networks is doing by going to gncasts.com. And a warning, on ElseNerds, we will swear and spoil things, so you have been warned on both fronts. Sean, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Gregor, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It seems like we just talked, like 3 days ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the
difficulties, but we got there.
Yeah, the schedule thing for doing the show last week got really, really weird. And so yeah, we got a show out eventually. But yeah, so before we get into the news, we're gonna do this is a special bonus segment thing here, because in it was a couple weeks now, I think, we lost a hero, an icon for us, and that someone who some of us may have been part of the reason why they got a tattoo.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
It's me. I'm surprised. But no, we recently lost Adam West, and this is one of those, I was flipping through Newsreader when it happened last Friday, I believe, and I was at work, and I'm just like, hey, Adam West passed away. And the guys who were there were like, wait, what? And they asked questions. So, Sean, he had a bigger impact on you because, as you were saying before the show. So do you want to share that story again?
Yeah, this was one of those ones that when I first saw it come across Facebook, I was like, now I got to go check and see if this is real, because, I didn't want to believe that it could be real. Growing up, I mean, the Batman series that Adam West did obviously was before my time. I grew up in the 80s, but it was on syndicated television in Philadelphia where I grew up. And it was always on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we never really got to see it when we were in school. So I have vivid memories of snow days and them canceling school. And you'd get up and you'd go outside and you'd play all morning and through lunch and everything. And then you'd come inside and have hot chocolate and watch the Batman show on, on, I think it was on Channel 17 or whatever in Philly. And it was goofy as hell. And it still is. I mean, a couple of years ago, my son Kevin and I sat down and watched the old Batman movie with the bat shark repellent and Adam running through with the bomb and the nuns and everything. And it's just, it was crazy, but it was so much fun. There was a lightheartedness to Batman there.
Yeah.
Batman, I think, can be played two very distinct ways. And you've got the more serious, Christian Bale-esque, kind of Batman. And then you've got the Adam West. And I would throw George Clooney in with the lighthearted Batman, the Lego Batman. So when I heard that Adam West passed, it's a lot of stars passing don't have the effect on me that I see it have on a lot of other people, but Adam West is one. I pulled the Batman socks out on Saturday and wore them in memory, and so it's definitely this was one that hit me harder than a lot of other things. And I've been watching a lot of Family Guy, and every time he shows up as the mayor, I kind of go, "Aw," it's like this is now,
And the I'm gonna read this quote from one of his kids, because it's fitting. Our dad always saw himself as the bright knight, and inspired to make and aspired to make a positive impact on his fans' lives. He was and always will be our hero. So he, I mean, him, much like I heard this, I think it might have been on Current Geek, where they were talking about him passing. Him, much like Leonard Nimoy, had this problem when they left their shows, with Batman and Star Trek respectively, that they couldn't really get. They got typecast for a lot of different products, a lot of different projects later on, and it wasn't until years later, probably with Adam West, probably about the time you were watching him in syndication, where he just sort of like, okay, well, hey, I'm gonna this is what people know me for, so this is what I'm gonna do, and stuff like that. And so it's one of these like there was definitely a resurgence. Like you look at the it's in the first season of Batman the Animated Series, so it was actually in my childhood in the early 90s, in like 94, I believe, where it was like the Return of the Grey Ghost, I think is the name of the episode, and they basically did Adam West's life story, but in as a Batman story,
right?
And who was the voice of the Grey Ghost? Why, it was Adam West. Yeah. And so you look at that, and you look at it, and it's like, boof, here's now this resurgence in his career from that.
Yeah. I remember him doing the superhero Catman on the Fairly Odd Parents, and that was kind of how I got to introduce my kids to the old Adam West Batman, was because I'd watch that show with them, and he'd do Catman stuff, and it would kind of allude to some of the Batman stuff, and I'd have to explain to them why that's so funny to me, and then was able to show them that. And then he got the role, like I said, with Family Guy as Mayor Adam West, and then not that just a couple months ago, they had the animated movie, the Cape Crusaders Return, or the Return of the Cape Crusaders, where he did the voice of Batman, and the Batman was animated in the style like of the costume that he wore back in the 60s and things. So yeah, it was definitely good to see him, like Beat said during the pre-show, it was good to see him get the recognition for being who he was before he died, because not everybody gets that, and it was kind of cool that he at least got to experience that before he died.
Yeah, and I mean so sort of hitting at a story we'll hit on later. Cheap plug. There's a British show that I watch called Through the Keyhole with Keith Lemon. And one of the segments that they did actually featured Adam West, where they went through his they went basically through the keyhole to explain it to someone. It's MTV Cribs, but the person whose house it is, I'm using the air quotes because Cribs never really use their house. It's not them. It's the host of the game show or panel show, and it's the celebrity panel who's trying to figure out whose house they're currently seeing all these clues from. Obviously they blur out the face of the celebrity so they don't know who it is, but they did it with Adam West, and it was one where I'm like, because this was his, I think, Palm Springs home, and I at first I'm like, wait, who is this? And then they started doing clues, and I'm like, oh, it's Adam West. Like, boom. Like, they started doing Batman things. But even then, when like I saw the preview for one of them, I'm like, are they gonna do MacGyver? But then when I watched, I'm like, oh no, that's Adam West, because they did the whole like, we have to defuse this bomb thing, like little bit. But I mean, it's one of those things, like, he was so good, so willing to laugh at his past in a way too, which was great. was great to see, because you don't really you don't really see that a lot nowadays, where you don't see the people, willing to let something like that go.
Yeah.
It's almost like, oh no, I'm a professional and I will always be professional, and
Yeah.
shit like that.
You see so many people who, like, they just distance themselves so much from that one role because they don't want to be, pigeonholed in. And he did that for a while, but then came around to embrace the character. And he has, on IMDb, I'm looking, and most people know him from a small handful of things. He's got 193 acting credits.
Yeah.
It was, and like some of these, it's like he was on, an episode of 30 Rock and SpongeBob, and obviously we said Fairly Odd Parents, Meet the Robinsons he was in, and
he was on Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, it's like there's so much that he did. He doesn't look ever really stopped working much. Looked like he worked pretty well straight through.
Yeah. But I guess the thing, because we're not and I say this, like, this is the way I would rather people honor me when it's my time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mourn my loss, celebrate my life.
Yeah.
Don't mourn that I'm gone, celebrate the fact that you had this small opportunity, this small window of knowing me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I will do with Adam West. Not to make myself sound super important, because but I mean
but no, I get what you mean. It's I think a lot of the celebrity deaths we've seen lately has garnered a feeling like that. I remember when David Bowie and Alan Rickman and several others passed, it was more a time to say, oh, it sucks that they're gone, but let's go back and look at all the wonderful things that they did.
Yep.
And that's the same thing I think we're seeing with Adam West this week, is that people are talking about. I mean, the guy always had a smile on his face, when he was doing that. He seemed like the kind of guy you'd want to go and just have a cup of coffee with and joke around. So
no, yeah, definitely. And it's funny because, like, you mentioned Alan Rickman, and I watched, when I was up north a couple weeks ago, I watched the Red Nose Day special. And one of the things they had in there was the Red Nose, the Love Actually sequel, where they had a lot of the people come back to do it, and they did the set it in a Walgreens, which I don't know if they shot it differently for the UK, but the scene that originally took place between Rowan Atkinson and Alan Rickman, where he's gift wrapping the product, and I'm like, oh, that would have been if they had this idea like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it would have been great to see Alan Rickman in that role,
right?
Reprising his role there too. Like the kid that they got. I mean, give him credit. He did great. He did great in that. But still, it was like that whole just not seeing Alan Rickman. So I'm pretty sure we'll get something like that with this too. Like if they do, another DC animated movie that's set in the Batman 66 universe, and they get a voice sound alike to do the Adam West part. Mm-hmm. Then
I'm curious what they're going to do with Family Guy for the upcoming year, because as of the end of the last season, he was still the mayor of Quahog. So it'll be interesting to see if they address his passing in any,
Yeah, I mean, because I think this is the first one that they've actually ever had to do with Family Guy, and they're catching up real close to The Simpsons in number of seasons.
Yeah,
and I know The Simpsons have done this a couple times and actually did it really well with a couple of people that they've had that passed away. Yeah,
well, they had Carrie Fisher pass away, but I don't know that they did anything with that because she played the voice of Angela, Peter's boss at the brewery.
I think she just got. It's been a while since I've seen Family Guy, because I don't even know if he still works at the brewery.
Yeah, I believe so. In this past season, he was there still. So And I just think they kind of just didn't acknowledge it. But I mean, Adam West is a much more pivotal character in that show than Carrie Fisher's Angela was. So
yeah, because honestly, I didn't even realize she voiced that character until you said that. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that's right. But that's also because I haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't seen an episode of Family Guy in a good long while because, in my opinion, the quality has went down. But again, that's just one nerd's opinion.
Family Guy is comfort food for me. That's what I put on in the background while I'm working on writing things and doing other things.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the news. And the first news story is one that I picked because I love this movie. And it's Hot Fuzz 2 is not out of the question, says Edgar Wright. Now, he was doing this while doing the some press work for his new movie coming out called Baby Driver. And, someone asked, what would be the, what would he say about doing the possibility of a Hot Fuzz 2? And he said, I've definitely had some ideas, and me and Simon Pegg have even talked about it at points. But it's that thing of, do I want to spend 3 years of my life doing that? Or do I want to, if I have the opportunity to tell a new story, would I do that? If someone said to me, if Baby Driver 2, if that kind of came up, it would be like, I have ideas. I would never say never, and you're not wrong to say that's the only thing, or that you could go do further installments. Basically, he's saying that out of the Cornetto trilogy, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I can't think of anything else that he's done right off the top of my head. But that Hot Fuzz is the one that has the most chance of a sequel. Even something like Attack the Block, which he didn't direct. I think he just wrote part of it with his writing partner on a lot of the things, Joe Cornish. I mean, it's like you look at all those shows, and it's Shaun of the Dead ends with the zombies basically being integrated into society. It's just you make sure they don't bite you or whatever. The World's End ends with oh god, it's been a while since I've seen that one. I believe the alien abduction going the opposite way. No, you take the planet. Scott Pilgrim isn't going to get a sequel because they basically did the comic book. They basically did that whole series in one movie.
Right.
And so there's not, you would have to go to Brian Lee O'Malley, and he's moved on to Snot Girl over at Image. And so, and then, Attack the Block, that's more Joe Cornish than Edgar Wright. So, Hot Fuzz 2 does seem like the logical choice. You said before that you haven't seen, like when we're talking pre-show, you haven't seen this. Have you seen any of the movies that I mentioned?
No, but didn't he do Paul as well? Or was that
I believe so.
I've seen Paul. I have World's End. I've just not gotten around to watching it yet. And Hot Fuzz is one of those ones that has been on my radar forever. Oh, I take that back. I have seen Shaun of the Dead. It's so I get the idea. I just question, is this article full of how they say full of sound and fury signifying nothing? Because basically he's just saying, yeah, we could do that, but there's no plans. There's so I think I would, as a fan, I think I would be very tentative about getting my hopes up, because it doesn't really sound like there's a whole lot of anything behind this. But it's intriguing to look at, because from what you're saying there, the fact that the other movies in that trilogy don't really leave the story open at the end in order to do a sequel.
Yeah. And honestly, they're only, for people who are going, wait, how is this a trilogy? The Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, and flavors is spelled the British way with the U after the O. It's uses a lot of these same actors in a American Horror Story anthology sense. So it's got a lot of, and actually the Wikipedia article on the Three Failures Cornetto trilogy actually is really great because it'll point out, this person is this, and all that. But no, Edgar Wright didn't do Paul. He might have wrote, or he might have like wrote or produced it, but he's done, since Baby Driver, he's done, going backwards, he's done The World's End, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, a fake trailer for the Grindhouse movies, the Death Cab or whatever it was. He did a fake trailer called Don't, Hot Fuzz. He did a TV movie called Straight A, and then he did Shaun of the Dead, and before that he did the TV show Spaced. So that's the only other thing that would be left open for stuff that he's already done.
Right.
Would be a reunion of Spaced and all that.
Yeah, I have seen Scott Pilgrim. That one I have seen. So.
Yeah. And yeah, and even then, like, I mean, it's not exactly. It's not something that's going to open up to a sequel.
No, unless you just took the characters and did something completely different with them. It's the only. And honestly, those characters are moved on to other things. Like, I can't see Michael Cera coming back and doing Scott Pilgrim again. I can't really see.
Actually, I could see Scott Pilgrim over what's her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, Ramona Flowers.
Yeah,
because she's
or
doing
Chris Evans. Yeah, she's doing great. He's doing good too. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Michael Cera, but out of the two, I would say maybe the one who starred in 10 Cloverfield Lane would be the one who's going a little bit better than and plus also there talks of a new season of Arrested Development or something like that.
Yeah.
So he'd be thrown back into that.
I think there's always talk of a new season of Arrested Development.
Yeah.
So
But no, so the next story that we got is a Cowboy Bebop live action TV series is in the works. So this is the critically and commercially successful 1998 Japanese anime series, and it's set to be adapted into a live action TV show by Tomorrow Studios, a partnership between ITV Studios and Marty Edelston. So I did not read the article before going into this. I do this a lot. I just don't read the articles before we do the show because who preps for a show? But I said in the pre-show that if this is done by the Japanese, like and it has a lot of the same people involved with the show that originally did it, I could see this working because there's been a lot of shows that have come out or will be coming out that have been successful. There's one that's coming out relatively soon, based on the Lupin the Third anime, but it's following more of the police chief as opposed to Lupin the Third. So, I mean, it does sound really good because ITV Studios, they do great programming. I mean, they bring us Broadchurch, for crying out loud. So I mean, they bring us blanking on the Downton Abbey. That's from ITV. So I mean, there's good programming that comes out of there. If this is the same ITV that I am thinking of. And so, had you ever watched Cowboy Bebop?
I haven't. I am not a big anime fan. And I hate to burst your bubble, but I found on japantoday.com that this is in fact going to be an American-made series.
That's
producer Prison Break, Last Man Standing, Teen Wolf.
That's
Chris
Yost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So that has my faith right there, because Chris Yost, Marty Edelston, he does pretty good work himself. Because like you said, Last Man Standing. That's where I last heard him was on the show Last Man Standing, and So yeah, I could see this going into full-fledged production because he's all of a sudden free because Last Man Standing isn't being made anymore.
Right.
But Cowboy Bebop, I mean, it. So even saying that, it's not like okay, it's gonna suck. I think there's gonna be more. There's gonna be more criticism on it because, I mean, you look at Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell was movie remake of a anime, starred a white woman. So I could see a lot of people going, "Oh my gosh, why aren't you casting Asians?" And I don't know why they sound really old, but they do in my mind. And it's like, I look at this and I'm like, okay, I just want to see what they've got set up, who's going to pick this up, to air on the TV, or is this going to be a Netflix or Hulu original or something like that? Like, I'm excited for that part. I'm still, pretty excited for this. Cowboy Bebop is actually a really good story. This is one of the first ones that I came into discovering anime with. It was this, Lupin the Third, the original Full Metal Alchemist, Big O. I mean, that stuff that aired in when Adult Swim went into anime.
Mm-hmm.
They had their Saturday night anime block. That's a lot of the stuff that I watched, with the exception of I believe Inuyasha. And Beats saying that you should check out the soundtrack of the show, that it is awesome. I agree. I don't remember exactly who was on the soundtrack, but I do remember the sound sticking out to me, while the soundtrack sticking out to me while I was watching it when I was younger.
Yeah, reading about the show and things like that, the description of it, it's definitely something that I would give it a shot. A lot of the problem, like the stuff that I started out watching for anime, like my daughter is big in anime, and oh crap, I can't remember the name of it. You guys might know it, but it's all each character is like a different country, and it was just the weirdest thing I could ever watch. And it's like something Axis. It'll
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But that wasn't that great. And then they made me watch Akira for Geek Cinema Society when I was a guest on there. And that movie, I was so confused. And it was funny because I went after the fact and read the Wikipedia article about Akira. And after reading the article, I understood the movie a lot more. But I was like, where the hell was all this in the movie? So I might just not be of the right mindset, or it may just be that I'm going down the wrong path, watching the wrong ones. But I mean, this sounds interesting. I like the idea of, galactic bounty hunters. I mean, that definitely sounds like up my alley.
No, definitely. That's where I think, if you could find where this is available to watch streaming, this is definitely one that it is easy to get into. Trigun is another one that I started watching that I really love, and also I think would be good to get into as well, because I mean, basically Cowboy Bebop is Firefly. It's with the exception of there's no Nathan Fillion or I get it. Yes, it came before it because Beat's going the other way around, winky face. To say something is, I'm going off of what he knows here. I'm going off what you know Firefly. So to compare it to be like, okay, yes, it's a lot like Firefly, and all that.
The show I was trying to think of was called Hetalia Axis Powers.
Okay,
that was that anime that my daughter really liked. So
yeah, but yeah, I would definitely say check it out. I mean, it is really good, and I'm excited to see this live action TV series. If you will know it is good if it stays on my radar as I'm watching it.
Yeah,
because that is the problem with watching too much TV. Is like very quickly something would be interesting to me, but I just ain't got the time. Like there's too much.
Yep, I agree.
And the third story that we got, and you'll sense a pattern here with this. is iZombie and Veronica Mars's Diane Ruggiero-Wright. Yes, said it right. Is remaking Misfits for the USA. So a while ago, like a long time ago, there was rumors of Misfits, which is a UK TV series, coming to America. And at one point, one of the stars of the show was going to come over and do it. But now we have the co-creator, producer, and writer for iZombie, Diane Ruggiero-Wright, is stepping up and doing it, and this is actually going to be on the TV channel Freeform. Not gonna lie, when I first heard that, it was a weird choice, because the basic premise of the show is you have 4 or 5, I think, 5 or 6 teenagers or young adults who are in the British version of juvie, or not juvie, like parole, like juvenile detention parole sort of deal.
Yeah.
And they are out picking up trash at their local community center when lightning storm, poof, they get powers. And it's a lot raunchy in aspects, because I mean, again, it aired on Channel 4 over in the UK after 10 p.m., which means they could swear, and they could have, more, adult topics. And this is also where we get, I'm blanking on his name, the actor in Game of Thrones who played Ramsay Bolton.
Right.
This is where he comes from.
Yep.
And this show is credited with giving one of the best lines ever. Going back to, we talked about this before with like American remakes, British remakes and American remakes of the other shows. This gave you the best line from the actress Lauren Cohan on here. I'm a fucking rocket scientist. In that regard, like fucking FOOKING with her accent, and I'm like, that's the best line. So it's, I guess the quick way to say it is, it's like Heroes without the writer strike.
Yeah.
And in England.
Yeah.
But no, it's so good. I am curious because of the fact that it's going to be on ABC. It's going to be on Freeform, formerly ABC Family.
Right.
So I don't know how they're going to handle some of the, overtly sexual situations that are in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also curious as to who they get cast in this and how it's going to be. I'm curious about all this stuff, to be honest.
The Freeform thing, the thing that threw me at first was when I heard it was ABC, and I went, this isn't going to work, because network television just has pissed me off so bad in the last couple of years, because they're so quick to pull shows after one season, after half a season. Like the show Powerless. Did you watch that?
Yeah, that one, the DC superhero show.
Right, yeah, where none of them had powers. They worked in research and development at Wayne Industries. It was a lighthearted. It was funny. It was just starting to get its feet under it, I think, and they pulled the plug on it. And so putting it on Freeform, I almost feel like it's going to get a chance more to develop than just, you got to hit it right out of the box and you're done.
But this is also the network that has a pretty stacked lineup, because coming out in the same time is going to be New Warriors, with the new Marvel comedy starring Squirrel Girl. This is also where you're getting Cloak and Dagger. This is where you already have established shows like Stitchers and Pretty Little Liars, which is ending real soon, and you've got quite a bit of shows that are already Shadowhunters that are already here and established. So it does become, okay, how are they going to set this up differently? Because I could see comparisons to Shadowhunters. The only difference being Shadowhunters seems like all the girls are skinny, like super, like rail thin model type, where Misfits, if they stay true to how like the casting in the UK version, they covered the whole spectrum. I mean, you didn't have like the girls had curves. It wasn't like, if I turn sideways, you won't see me.
Yeah,
sort of deal. I don't know. I'm still excited. I just think it's going to be weird for it to happen, or for where the network is coming out on.
Well, having seen iZombie and Veronica Mars, is Diane Ruggiero-Wright the correct person for this? I mean, is she going to do it justice, do you think? Or, do we have something to worry about there?
I think she'll be fine, just because of the fact that with these shows, there a lot of it they hit on the humor with these shows.
Yes.
Now I've seen the Veronica Mars movie, haven't seen the TV show, and I've watched iZombie, and the humor in both of those is really good. It's a different kind of humor than what the original Misfits was, but at the same time, that could be okay. I mean, because I as a fan of Misfits wouldn't want to see the same show again, but with American accents and American actors. I mean, we talked about, we were looking at, and you pulled up the Wikipedia list for, the list of American television shows that are based on British TV shows. And and even skipping the reality / game shows that are in there, you look at shows like Skins or The In-Betweeners, both of which aired on Channel 4 in the UK and then was remade over here on MTV. Skins, the American version, I thought was actually pretty good. The problem is that they were on the wrong network. MTV was the wrong network, and our sensibilities are wrong for that show.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of parents saying, there's this show's showing underage kids having sex, and it's like, no, the only one that they actually show in any real risque, like, oh, here's her bare back or anything like that, was 18. And was 18 when filming the show. And like the most was like, oh, they're like a guy's groping a girl, like over the clothes and stuff like that. But like, it's like, I felt like that show was true to what it was compared to the UK. It actually toned down, because the first season of the Skins over there, you had full frontal nudity, you had all sorts of stuff that you're like, ugh. And like, it surprised you in that way. And then In-Betweeners, it seemed like it fell, like, with it being comedy, it had this weird line where they would do things that they hadn't done over in the UK, but then they would do episodes that were fully based off of an episode from the UK, and that stuff doesn't really translate well with comedies. And this list, I mean, gosh, this list is gigantic, because I mean, let's not forget, one of the biggest shows to come to America from there, The Office.
Right.
I mean, The Office was a success here and over there. And I mean, Faulty Towers was tried over here a couple times. Hell's Kitchen was made over here. House of Cards. They've tried the IT crowd, numerous times. I actually wouldn't consider the Little Britain one and Little Britain USA as a spin-off, because that was just more the same thing, but that's just me critiquing the
Yeah, they had some really interesting ones on this list.
yeah.
Really didn't make it very well here in the US. And we had talked about is it Being Human? Kind of got really panned.
And here's the thing: Being Human is one of the rare shows where the British show had, and they did a full series. They did full run telling stories on both sides. But I think the British one had more seasons than the American. And usually it's the other way around. Like The Office had 3 seasons and a Christmas special. Over in Britain. Here it was what, 10? 30? How many seasons? It was a lot.
Yeah.
Shameless is another one. Shameless had 3 seasons over. Actually, I think Shameless only had 2 over there in the UK. And that's where we got James McAvoy. Because that was where he, like, his first show. And here they're on season 8.
Yeah. House of Cards is another. House of Cards was 4 episodes in the original UK version, and they're on their 4th season here.
Yeah.
13 episodes a piece usually for Netflix shows. So
yeah, and The Thick of It, that's another one. It's where we got Peter Capaldi before this. They tried to do it, The Thick of It over here on ABC, but then it's where we get Veep, because it has the same Armando Iannucci and the same team of writers as The Thick of It. And let's not forget how difficult it's been to get an American Top Gear.
Yeah.
That's the big one right there. And good God, I so hope that the new one that's going to be on BBC America, the new BBC Top Gear America, is going to be good, because they've been advertising the hell out of that show. It's like, if that sucks, I'd be like, guys, you guys advertise the crap out of this. And yes, and as Beat's pointing out, we hope that Richard Hammond heals fast after that crash. And that dude, I swear, must be made of rubber, because I think he's done 2 crashes like this now, and has come across relatively unscathed.
Right. The fact that he wasn't more hurt is nothing short of, he definitely, the look of that crash was just horrific, and you just hold your breath waiting to see what happens. And then he was able not to walk away, but to escape it in relatively, good condition considering what we just saw. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to do it though for the news. And we are going to take a quick break and let you know that there's a couple ways that you can help us out here. You can join the producers and hosts of the show and donating money to keep the lights on. Basically, this is a way for you to help us, keep the WordPress going, keep the all the domains going to where they are, so they don't go to the the blank generic landing page at GoDaddy of, hey, this thing's available. You do that one of 2 ways. You can go to Patreon and donate as little as $1 a month. That's cheap, and that's a monthly payment. Or the other thing, go to Amazon, buy stuff. We have a link on gncast.com/support, and you click through there, and then you just do your normal shopping on Amazon. You're giving us Bezos money. That is freaking awesome. So just do it. I don't mean to sound like Shia LaBeouf there, but basically it's so easy. Why not do it? All right, we are back talking the ElseViews, and Shawn, I want to start with yours because yours sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, this was actually a book that I got off of the Amazon Kindle app. I have the Kindle Unlimited where I pay so much a month and then I get access to thousands and thousands of books. And this one is a kind of a comedy book. It's called Starship Grifters, and it's by an author named Robert Kroese. And if you're familiar with the television show Psych?
I love Psych. Oh, also, quick news story. They're coming back. They're doing a movie this winter.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I can't wait for that. Yeah, Psych is probably one of my all-time favorite television shows, and this book is kind of like Psych meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's about this character Rex Nihilo, and he is a con man. He's an intergalactic con man, and he goes on all these weird adventures, like selling the same guns to like 4 different groups of people and faking them out, faking them out of their money. And he's got a robot sidekick, so it's almost like Zaphod Beeblebrox traveling around with Marvin the android, but beat than Marvin was. And the robot has this great gag that if he forms an original thought, he immediately shuts down for 15 seconds and then has to reboot. And he can't remember what the original thought was. So a lot of times, like when they're really in peril, they try to get the robot to do something, and the robot comes up with an idea and then immediately shuts down, and they're stuck trying to, work around it. And the book was a lot of fun. There's several books that I set to come out next month. But this is the first prequel that's a short story. It's about 30 or 40 pages. And Starship Grifters basically picks up where that left off. But you don't need to read that, but it was good. I mean, it was definitely a good introduction. It made me want to read Starship Grifters. But that's really the one that I wanted to recommend, was that book by Robert Kroese. Just a lot of fun. Got me back into reading in a big way.
Yeah. No, that sounds really cool. And with you mentioning Psych, I want to be like, can you spot the pineapple behind me?
But yeah, the Psych references, like there's references to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Star Wars, Star Trek, Starship Troopers, basically all these great sci-fi stuff. There's little nods to it, like, the red shirts and the stormtroopers not being hit anything and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And that's kind of why I compare it to Psych, is because of all the references to other works and things.
Yeah. No, that sounds really cool. And I definitely think I'll be getting that here. So the real quick, the comic book I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to talk about a comic book, is Black Bolt, and this is written by Saladin Ahmed, and the art is done by Christian Ward, and the covers are done by Christian Ward. And this is actually a interesting thing, an interesting take on this whole. This comes after Inhumans versus X-Men in Marvel. This is going on while Secret Wars is going, or Secret Empire is going on, and basically Black Bolt finds himself on a on a hidden prison thing with Crusher Creel, aka the Absorbing Man, and his power's not working, so he can talk and stuff like that. And he's in a prison that was originally made, or he was originally going to be sent, or his brother Maximus the Mad was originally going to be sent to. This is it. The first 2 issues have come out so far. I have to tell you, this is such great storytelling here by both the writer and the artist. Too much, I feel like, in comics, and there have been articles that will back this up. The writer gets all the credit, or a lot of people come in because of the writer. This is one of the times where I did not know the writer. I do not know if I've read anything by Saladin Ahmed, but I do know I've seen Christian Ward's art. He did with Matt Fraction over at Image. He did the Odyssey book, the ODY-C book, and that the art in there, oh my goodness, is beautiful. And so I cannot recommend this enough. It is really quick reading because each issue I believe is only like 23 pages. And this is definitely one that I'm actually probably gonna put this on my pull list, because it's been, oh, it's out, okay, I grab it and stuff. But I think I'm actually gonna be like, I want my own copy. I want one that's just for me, not anyone else. But I highly recommend this book. Has not let me down once so far. So yeah, that has.
We're getting Black part of the Inhumans, aren't we?
Yeah, Black Bolt. Yeah, Black Bolt is going to be one of the Inhumans with Maximus the Mad, played by the same actor who played Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones, and is also in Misfits. So there's a 3-part tie-in for our show here, folks.
Bringing it all back around.
But yeah, so that is going to do it for the ElseViews. We will be right back after I read this plug. You got a little extra time on your hands? You want some experience as a social media manager? Well, we're looking for you. The Galactic Network is in search of someone to help us step up our Facebook/Twitter/Instagram/Patreon game. Oh, did we forget to mention that this position pays the wonderful salary of $0, and if you work really hard, we could double that. But if you have the passion for community building, are into sci-fi, horror, gaming, comic books, the paranormal, and other similar topics, we'd love to hear from you. You could email contact@gncasts, that's GNCASTS.com. All right, our final segment of the evening is, hey Shawn, them E3s are going on. Did you know that?
I did. I heard a little something about it on social media, and everywhere I turn.
Yeah. So Sony, the big three, Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox, had their press conferences. Nintendo actually had it this morning. Well, this morning over in LA, it was like noon here. But the big ones, I think, out of the three console manufacturers, I'd have to give it to Xbox, because they've got the One X. It's the true 4K console, formerly known as Project Scorpio, will be released worldwide November 7th for $500 in the US or £450 in the UK. And Microsoft is promising 22 new exclusive games through 2017 and 2018, including Forza Motorsport 7, Metro Exodus, and Anthem. Anthem looked beautiful. Yeah, Anthem, I saw that game. Yeah, I saw that gameplay footage, and I could not tell if this was story mode, like I was seeing computers that were in there, or if this was all like 4 developers on the team that were playing this game. And I don't care that I couldn't tell that. So the big thing with the Xbox One X is that, like I said, it's a 4K console. It's giving, there's going to be a lot of processing power and stuff. And the thing that's playing the picture slideshow behind me is the One S. That only does 4K streaming of movies, like of other entertainment besides games, and 4K movies. This will do the gaming at 60 frames a second. And so a lot of the games are getting a 4K update that you've already purchased. The cool thing is, and I would love to see this happen for a while, is with this refresh, none of the old games like that you have now, like I've got 5 or 6 games, disc games back there. Those will work with the One X. That's the cool part. Sony announced a bunch of games as did Nintendo, but everyone's focusing in on Nintendo because Nintendo basically announced the rest of the lineup for this year for the Nintendo Switch. You've got Yoshi for the Nintendo Switch and Kirby. Mario Odyssey which is coming out in October, I believe. They announced a new Metroid Prime 4, a Pokemon game coming out later. Oh, and one other game that I believe everyone else in the console world and PC world have. Rocket League is coming to the Nintendo Switch. That got me excited, and it's going to have the crossplay. So that right there is big. But no, as for the games, we have a link to a wired.co.uk article that has a lot of the gameplay trailers. I know what a lot of people are going to be talking about would be like games like Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like that one, which was announced from Ubisoft. A lot of people love Beyond Good and Evil. And then this is just, like this is what everyone had been asking for. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim in VR with the PlayStation VR, which is good because I haven't seen a lot of people really clamoring for the PlayStation VR. Who was it? Insomniac Games is working on a new Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. Which, if you get past the white spider on the costume, it looks pretty cool. It's just the outfit looks really weird. Forza Motorsport 7 it will run at 4K at 60 frames per second and in HDR over on the Xbox. So the cars are going to look so nice. You're going to be like, I'm actually driving this, Porsche 911 or, whatever car while you're sitting on your butt in your couch. So what like looking through here at the games, what are some of the games that stick out for you?
I take a slightly different approach to a lot of these games, and one of the things that actually looks really intriguing to me is the game Cuphead. It's Xbox One. It's a run and gun action game inspired by 1930s cartoons, and you see the just the picture there in the article, and it looks like the old Mortimer Mouse style of animation, and it's just so cool looking to see them do a game in that kind of style. I thought that was really neat. I'm also big on like couch co-op. So the A Way Out looks like that would be something that might be really fun to play like with my son or something like that. It says it's like an escape game, a prison escape game. And 2-player co-op played entirely in split screen, either online or in local co-op. And that's one thing that me and my kids are always looking for is new games to do local co-op. And the other thing that really excited me is, and it's not mentioned in that article, but we do have another article from GameAsutra.com, and that is the PlayLink mobile input that Sony announced. And basically what they're doing for the PS4 is, if you've ever played the Jackbox party games, they basically the game is on the television and everybody logs in on their phone to a website and puts in a room code and then answers the questions, draws the pictures, whatever, on their phone or their tablet. And this looks like it's going to be a whole nother set of games that Sony's going to put out that uses that same type of technology. And they're all going to be in the party game mode, which is something my family really enjoys. So, I'm looking forward to this. We play Jackbox at least like twice a month. Yeah. And we love it. It is so damn funny to just sit there and play. And, and it's great because you get to do up to 8 players. So if you've got a bigger group, it's even more fun. I looked at this and I thought, well, you can go one of two ways. You can either look at this and say Sony is ripping off Jackbox, or hey, we're getting a whole lot more Jackbox without it having to be Jackbox. And I think the nice things is the very first one they're releasing is going to be free for the PlayStation Plus members. That's going to be their first game in July, which is actually how I found out about this. Was there was a link about them announcing the first free game for July, and I clicked on it to see what it was, and I found out about this play link, and I'm like, oh, this is for those of you who like the party games and like Drawful and Quiplash and all those things. I think we're going to get a lot of similar things like that from Sony. I think they have several games in development, and it's just that that first game is going to be free, which I think is pretty cool. A lot of people hooked, you know.
No, yeah. Two of the other games I'll mention. One is a personal. Well, both of them I'm wanting, but one is more personal that I really like, because I'm in the middle of playing the game beforehand, which is a sequel but a prequel. Is Life is Strange Before the Storm. I'm in the middle of playing on my PC right now. Life is Strange. It's a 5-part episodic game where you're playing as this girl at this like academy college type place, and you go through and you realize you have the power to turn back time. Much like the song, but you can only do it so far. You can only go so far back. Otherwise, brain hemorrhage or whatever. And so seeing this, I did not know they were even working on a sequel to Life is Strange. I'm like I said, I'm only on I think I'm on episode 3 of the original. But the soundtrack on there, amazing. It's like I would buy the CD of the Life is Strange soundtrack if I could find it. And I probably could find it. I just haven't really looked. But then the other one that's, a lot of people, and this is one I actually watched at work. Like I'm sitting here with my phone, my headphones plugged into it, watching this while I'm supposed to be selling phones. While there's no one around and I'm still selling phones and stuff like that. But Star Wars Battlefront 2. So this is, the sequel to Star Wars Battlefront. It's going to actually have a single player campaign. Honestly, that single player campaign alone, and having the actress who played Shiva Kamini Komasala from the League in there, that is what is getting me to where, like, that's, basically if they had a first person or single player campaign in Battlefront 1, I would have bought that because it's $20 right now. But because it's basically multiplayer, get in there, multiplayer. It's going through all 3 eras. You got some of the prequel stuff. The single player campaign is going to bridge between episode 6 and The Force Awakens. So all that looks really cool. The other thing that I'll mention is Nintendo is going the way of Xbox and Sony, but they're doing it cooler. So Nintendo with the Nintendo Switch, and this is something my friend told me. So this is, I'm that one guy that heard it third hand, so some of the information might get tweaked a little bit. But Nintendo is going to do a version of Xbox Live. They're going to do a live, to play the multiplayer games, you have to have this service. It's going to be $20 a year. I don't think it's in this article. It's going to be like $20 a year. But with Xbox, how you have the games with gold, this is going to give you access to their full back catalog. So everything they have available that you can play on the Switch, it's going to be available.
Cool.
Every 2 months or every 2 weeks, we're going to switch out 1 or 2 of the games to bring in something else for you. And then we're going to do free play weekends. None of that crap. It's just be like, oh, you want to go play Super Mario 3? Well, download it. There you go. Sort of deal. That stuff is really cool. And we're still that was just the press conferences that we talked about. There's still, like days on the floor where you'll see, The Verge and Engadgets and all these other IGN on the floor doing floor reports throughout the next 2 or 3 days. Is there anything else that really interested you from hearing some of the things?
No, I mean I think it's interesting that there's two pretty big titles coming out that are pirates. There you got the Skull and Bones, and then you've got the Sea of Thieves. So I think pirates come back.
No, yeah.
So I thought that was, and the other thing, I definitely agree with you about the Star Wars thing, because we got our PlayStation 4 for Christmas, and it was the Star Wars Battlefront bundle. And so, I mean, we got it free with it, and all of us in my family said the exact same thing: is the one thing that this game is missing is the single player campaign. So seeing that they're doing that with Battlefront 2, inclined to go and get that. If it was like one, I wouldn't be interested, but having the single player campaign, being able to run around in the Star Wars universe is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I got a question for you, Shawn.
Yes.
What would you say if you had a HTC Vive and one of those like penny horse things that went and moved? What would you say if that was a game?
I think it'd be interesting.
Well, sir, get yourself a ticket, and we're going to Japan. We're going to Tokyo, because this is coming to Bandai Namco's Tokyo Arcade. This is Mario Kart Arcade GP VR. It'll run off of an HTC Vive headset, and the players will be controlling the action in Mario Kart-styled arcade chairs with built-in steering wheels for driving and motion controller wristbands to allow you to actually throw items at your opponents. I saw this. I saw this article at work. And off of the image alone, I'm like, done. I want to talk about it. And because the image was you sitting in, like, you're Luigi, and there's a turtle shell right there. I'm like, oh hell yeah! Where can I? Oh, fuck, Tokyo. When's this coming to Michigan? When is this coming to anywhere in America? Something that's not going to require a passport for me to go play this game.
So I've got a honeymoon coming up next year. I don't know if I can convince my fiance to go to Tokyo just to play video games for the honeymoon. But
no. See, here's what you do. You say, let's go to Japan. It'll be awesome. And then, hey, I heard about this place over here. Can we go there? And then, there you go. You're there, and she's like, come on, Shawn, come on, let's go, Shawn.
This is for work. Doing it for ElseNerds.
I gotta get a report in. Greg's gonna be upset if I don't get it.
That's been my new excuse for watching anything I want on television. I gotta watch this for the show. So
that's part of the reason why I justify watching the stuff that I do for myself. Like, it's like, well, I gotta watch it for the show, and then I never talk about the shows. But no, honestly, this sounds so cool. And it's gonna be in Shinjuku, Tokyo, over in the Namco Bandai's new VR Zone arcade. So there's probably gonna be so they checked out the VR Zone location. It involves piloting mechs, driving trains, and rescuing kittens. Started out great with piloting mechs. Oh hell yeah! But then rescuing kittens. Oh, come here, kitty. Come here, kitty, kitty. That part is just sort of where it loses me a little bit.
And I know the perfect place to put this in America too is probably in the big Nintendo store right there by Rockefeller Center in New York City.
Oh yeah. Or Mall of America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or any of them giant malls. We got one here, over by Detroit. It's like the Great Lakes Plaza or whatever. I don't know what it's called.
They can basement
where they. Yeah. Basically, anywhere that has a Legoland should have, or like Lego store should have this in there too. All right. Well, I think that's just gonna wrap it up here for us. But you can contact us by leaving us a voicemail. Hey, if you're from Japan and you've played this, please call or email, because I want to hear what your thoughts were. Hopefully you speak English and can say it in English, because I can't translate Japanese. But you can do this by contacting us by leaving us a voicemail at 328-3966 or emailing us mail@elsenerds.com. And it's mail as in I have a letter, not mail as in I am a. All of our subscription links and options can be found over at gncast.com/subscribe. You can join us on our Facebook page under Galactic Networks over at facebook.com/galacticnetcasts. You can follow the show and the network over at Twitter at ElseNerds, and the network is at Galactic Netcasts. Our producers are at Beatmaster80. Evan is at Mr_Fusion. I'm at That Gregor. You can find Corey's stuff at Don't Ask Comics. And I skipped a spot and forgot about it. Shawn, where can people find you?
At SBurnsPA.
Yes, Shawn, as I called him at the top of the show, Alternative Corey.
Other Corey.
He's going to be joining us here this summer. It'll be fun. We're welcoming in here because he is our brother from another area. But the final thing to be said is this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you next week.
Or else.